Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the length of ceasefire in the renewed 14-month war with Hezbollah, which started on Wednesday, depends on what happens in Lebanon. Benjamin Netanyahu stated this in a nationwide broadcast on Tuesday when he announced the commencement of ceasefire agreement reached with the Hezbollah fighters brokered by the United States of America, USA. On Thursday, displaced people could be seen returning home in Lebanon, but the homes have become debris sites flattened into rubble with series of Israeli air missile strikes which began late September 2024. Although the IDF has warned Lebanese civilians not to return to villages in southern Lebanon during the current ceasefire with Hezbollah, according to reports, but media news network Live TV footage shows people moving around in the town of Kiem, near an IDF tank on Wade. Israel Prime Minister Office in a statement on Tuesday said the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, this evening, spoke to U.S. President Joe Biden and thanked him for the U.S. involvement in achieving the ceasefire agreement in Lebanon and for the understanding that Israel maintains freedom of action in enforcing it. The Security Cabinet, this evening, in a 10-to-1 vote, approved the U.S. proposal for a ceasefire arrangement in Lebanon. Israel appreciates the U.S. contribution to the process and maintains its right to act against any threat to its security. The agreement, mediated by the United States, based on United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701, aims to halt hostilities that have displaced thousands of families in northern Israel since September. Netanyahu, who spoke on Tuesday evening, emphasized that the ceasefire would allow residents to return home while maintaining Israel's ability to act against threats in Lebanon if necessary. He noted that the truce would enable Israel to shift its focus to addressing the broader Iranian threat and intensify pressure on Hamas. The length of the ceasefire depends on what happens in Lebanon. We will enforce the agreement and respond forcefully to any violation. We will continue united until victory, he said in a televised address. He also said that Hezbollah was not the same as it was before the war. We have pushed them decades back, he said. Faced with significant opposition from members of his cabinet, he stressed that the ceasefire would depend on what happens in Lebanon. He added that Israel would maintain full freedom to act in Lebanon, and said a truce would allow Israel to focus on the Iranian threat. Clashes between Israeli forces and Hezbollah have escalated since late September, with heavy fighting resulting in significant destruction in southern Lebanon and central Beirut. The Lebanese Health Ministry estimated and stated that more than 3,700 people have been killed since October 2023, with most casualties occurring in recent months. Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati expressed support for the ceasefire, urging its immediate implementation to halt the ongoing devastation. U.S. officials involved in brokering the agreement have expressed optimism about its potential to restore calm and facilitate humanitarian relief. Detailed statement by Prime Minister Netanyahu reads verbatim below. The length of the ceasefire depends on what happens in Lebanon. We will enforce the agreement and respond forcefully to any violation. We will continue united until victory. Citizens of Israel, I promised you victory, and we will achieve victory. We will complete the task of obliterating Hamas. We will bring home all of our hostages. We will ensure that Gaza no longer poses a threat to Israel, and we will return the residents of the North back home safely. The war will not end until we realize all its goals, including the return of the residents of the North safely home. And I tell you, it will happen, just like it happened in the South. My friends, residents of the North, I am proud of you. I am proud of your perseverance, and I am totally committed to your security, to the rehabilitation of your communities, to your future. To that, thanks to the bravery of our fighters in the IDF, the Israel Security Agency, the Mossad and Israel Police, we have made great inroads into the 7 fronts of the War of Redemption. These achievements are a source of awe and admiration across the globe, and they are projecting Israel's might throughout the Middle East. First, the head of the octopus, Iran. We destroyed major parts of Iran's air defense system and missile manufacturing capabilities, and we demolished a significant component of their nuclear program. I am determined to do anything needed to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. That threat has always been my top priority and is even more so today, when you hear Iran's leaders state over and over again their intention to obtain nuclear weapons. For me, removing that threat is the most important mission to ensure the existence and future of the State of Israel. In Gaza, we dismantled the Hamas battalions and killed close to 20,000 terrorists. We killed Sinwar, we killed Dave, we killed senior Hamas officials, and we brought 154 hostages back. We are committed to bringing them all home, the 101 hostages still in Gaza, those who are still alive as well as the dead, and end the terrible anguish of their families. We are of course committed to completing the annihilation of Hamas. In Judea and Samaria, we are taking out terrorists. We are destroying terrorist infrastructure, and we are operating in all of the terror strongholds. There is no place out of our reach. In Yemen, we attacked the Houthis' port of Hodeidah forcibly, which the international coalition had not done. In Iraq, we successfully thwarted, and are still thwarting, many drone attacks, and we have many challenges ahead. In Syria, we are systematically blocking attempts by Iran, Hezbollah and the Syrian army to transfer weapons to Lebanon. Assad must understand that he is playing with fire. And now, for the 7th front, Lebanon. Hezbollah decided to attack us from Lebanon on October 8th. A year later, it is not the same Hezbollah. We have pushed them decades back. We eliminated Nasrallah, the axis of the axis. We have taken out the organization's top leadership. We have destroyed most of their rockets and missiles. We have killed thousands of terrorists, and we demolished their underground terror infrastructure aborting our border, infrastructure that had been building for years. We have attacked strategic targets throughout Lebanon, and we have brought down dozens of terror high-rises in Beirut's Dahieh. The ground in Beirut is shaking. Citizens of Israel, only 3 months ago, this all would have sounded like science fiction. But it isn't. We did these things. At every moment of managing this campaign, I observe all fronts simultaneously. That is what I did at the beginning of the war when I decided to focus on Gaza and not open a broader front in Lebanon. That is what I did several months ago when the conditions ripened to go north, and then we decided to focus on Hezbollah. That is what I did after the missile attack from Iran, when we meticulously decided on the time and nature of our response. And that is what I am doing today. I observe all the fronts simultaneously and see the broad picture. I am determined to give our courageous soldiers every resource to keep them safe and bring us victory. Therefore, this evening I will bring a ceasefire outline for the Cabinet's approval. The length of the ceasefire depends on what happens in Lebanon. With the United States' full understanding, we maintain full freedom of military action. If Hezbollah violates the agreement and tries to arm itself, we will attack. If it tries to rebuild terrorist infrastructure near the border, we will attack. If it launches a rocket, if it digs a tunnel, if it brings in a truck carrying rockets, we will attack. I hear the claim that if we enter into a ceasefire, we will not be able to attack and will not be able to renew the war. I remind you, that is exactly what they said when we had a ceasefire in Gaza to release the hostages. They said we wouldn't go back to fighting, but we did. They tell me Hezbollah will be quiet for a year or two, grow stronger and then attack us. But Hezbollah will be in violation of the agreement not only if it fires on us. It will be in violation of the agreement if it obtains weapons to fire at us in the future. And we will respond forcefully to any violation. I know there are people who don't believe we will do that. But many also didn't believe we would enter Gaza on the ground, and we did. They didn't believe we would go into Shifa and Khan Yunis, and we did. They didn't believe we would go into Rafah and the Philadelphia corridor, in the face of all the international pressure. Not only did we go in, we attacked, and then some. Many didn't believe that we would attack in Lebanon, and we did that too. We attacked with force and sophistication that surprised the whole world. So after all that, maybe we should start believing. Believe in our determination. Believe in our path, in our commitment to victory. Why should we have a ceasefire now? For three main reasons. The first reason is to focus on the Iranian threat, and I won't expand on that. The second reason is to give our forces a breather and replenish stocks. And I say it openly, it is no secret that there have been big delays in weapons and munitions deliveries. These delays will be resolved soon. We will receive supplies of advanced weaponry that will keep our soldiers safe and give us more strike force to complete our mission. And the third reason for having a ceasefire is to separate the fronts and isolate Hamas. From day 2 of the war, Hamas was counting on Hezbollah to fight by its side. With Hezbollah out of the picture, Hamas is left on its own. We will increase our pressure on Hamas, and that will help us in our sacred mission of releasing our hostages. Citizens of Israel, in the past year, we turned the tables. We were attacked from several fronts and we fought back with might. We are changing the face of the Middle East. We are doing all this thanks to our brave soldiers, thanks to your tenacity, and thanks to the resolute and smart management of the war. I have said many times, a good deal is a deal that is enforced, and we will enforce it. With God's help, we will establish security, we will rehabilitate the North and continue, united, until victory.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Nigeria Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun, has alleged that the female police officer, Edith Uduma, dismissed after she made public a video of a male sergeant, Uzuobo, who allegedly ravished or sexually molested an underage or minor in police cell at South Ibie Divisional Headquarters in the Etsako West local government area of Edo State, attempted to make money from the video recording by refusing to report the incident to the Divisional Police Officer, DPO Lilian Osemwegie. Instead, demanded 1 million naira ransom from the suspect who ran away after the crime, but the IGP allegation has since been dismissed as incorrect, false and misleading by Edith Uduma, saying it was the DPO who asked her to play along to demand the 1 million naira so that the fleeing police officer can be captured. IGP in a statement on Tuesday claimed that the suspected sergeant, Uzuobo, only made attempt on the minor, but the video showed that something were already and obviously going on before Inspector Edith Uduma invaded the scene of crime to intercept the suspect with a video recording. There are speculations in the public domain that the Nigeria Police Force authorities may have conspired to sack Inspector Edith Uduma for taking the bold step by thus making the video public, which apparently dent the corporate image of the Nigeria Police Force and lower public confidence on the safety of female suspects, especially minors, in police detention facilities across the West Africa country. Another version of speculations indicated that Inspector Edith Uduma may have sensed possible act of compromise and conspiracy to cover up the crime by police authorities in the division and Edo State Command. Hence, she made the video public for obvious personal safety. Reports indicated that it was when the video went viral on social media platforms, that was, when the police authority apparently took the matter serious and began disciplinary action. It was gathered that the policeman, after allegedly raping the near 17-year-old girl inside the police station, the minor lost consciousness as she was seen in the video lying down looking so weak, while Inspector Edith Uduma was heard shouting, "You want to put me into trouble. You want to put me into trouble," just as the suspected rapist, Police Sergeant Abraham Uzuobo was seen pants down begging Edith Uduma to stop video recording and appealed to her to cover up the crime. Meanwhile, Edith Uduma has threatened to end her life and those of her children, claiming her dismissal from the Nigeria police force was unjust and orchestrated to silence her after exposing the rape incident involving her colleague. She accused the State Police Command to have unjustly dismissed her, saying the public had not also held her side of the story. Uduma's dismissal came after a viral video that she captured in October 2024 showed one Sergeant Abraham Uzuobo, another officer, said to have raped a near 17-year-old girl at the police station in the South Ibie area of Edo State. The officer was seen hurriedly wearing his trousers and querying why Edith was making a video recording. The girl was seen lying on a chair in the room in the course of this. The Edo State Police Command, in a statement released in November by its public relations officer, Moses Yamu, alleged that Uduma conspired with her husband, Inspector Ibrahim Mohammed, to extort 1 million naira from Abraham to cover up the incident. When Abraham reportedly offered 45,000 naira instead, the video was leaked online. That, contrary to reports from certain quarters, the said female police officer, Act No. 228,719 Inspector Edith Uduma, was the charge room officer on October 7, 2024. The night F. No. 504,694 Sergeant Abraham allegedly raped a female suspect in the station. The female officer, instead of reporting the incident to the Divisional Police Officer or the Incident Duty Officer as the case may be, for disciplinary actions to be initiated against the erring officer, took advantage of the situation to enrich herself by calling her husband, Abno 228,652 Inspector Ibrahim Mohammed, whom she conspired with to unlawfully demand the sum of 1 million naira from the sergeant to assist him in concealing the matter. Following these events, an orderly room trial was initiated against all the officers, which led to the dismissal of Sergeant Abraham and Inspector Edith Uduma. Uduma's husband was also demoted to the rank of Sergeant, Edo State Police Command stated in quote. Punch newspaper reported that Edith Uduma denied the allegations in an interview with Punch Metro, insisting she never extorted money and that she was not given a fair hearing. She alleged that her dismissal was orchestrated because she lacked influential connections. Uduma, who threatened to kill herself if she didn't get justice, said, "What the Edo Command is saying is not what happened. They know I have no rank or support to fight back," Uduma said. She further revealed that the force headquarters in Abuja was still investigating the matter only for the Edo Command to hurriedly dismiss her. "I want justice. My dismissal is unjust," she said tearfully. She said her husband, who was also sanctioned, had no connection to the matter. My husband, used to bring something for me to eat. He brought food that time to the station. If Nigerians refuse to listen to me, because my husband has been in detention, and they have been looking for me to arrest me, to charge me to court, if Nigeria refuses to listen to me, I will just poison all my children and myself. I will die, because I'm just stranded like this, she said, noting she had been in hiding and had not seen her children in a long time due to the incident. She alleged that the DPO at the station prompted her to ask Sergeant Ibrahim for the 1 million naira for negotiation when the sergeant reportedly disappeared after the incident, noting that this was to lure the suspect to show up. According to her, she is surprised how the DPO and other officers allegedly turned the matter against her. If the police force can do this to a police officer, how much more to the innocent and civilians? The spokesperson for the Edo Command, Moses Yamu, has not responded to calls and a text message put across to him on Sunday. Punch Metro gathered that the then Divisional Police Officer of the station at the time the incident occurred, SP Lilian Osemwegie, has now retired. A call was put across to a number said to be Hezbollah, a woman who responded after a question from our respondent, said, "Wrong number, wrong number." Punch Metro cannot immediately verify if the former DPO was the one on the call, but a police source insisted it was her number. Punch newspaper report ends in quote. On Tuesday, IGP Kayode Egbetokun, while speaking through the force spokesperson, Olumiyiwa Adejobi, defended the allegations against Edith Uduma and stated in details below. The Nigeria Police Force hereby reaffirms its justification for the dismissal of one Edith Uduma, a former police inspector, who was recently dismissed for her act of gross misconduct and complicity surrounding the alleged rape of a 17-year-old female suspect by one Abraham Uzuobo. It would be recalled that in a video that went viral on social media, where a police sergeant was alleged to have raped a female suspect in the station on October 7, 2024, former police inspector Edith Uduma was the charge room officer, CRO, on duty. The video emerged online 1 week following the occurrence. A thorough investigation into the matter, conducted by the Edo State Police Command, uncovered that the police sergeant, identified as Sergeant Abraham Uzuobo, had removed the victim from the cell and taken her to an unoccupied office, where he attempted to engage in sexual acts with her. During the act, Uduma had worked in and recorded the act. However, instead of immediately making a documented entry on the matter in the incident record of the station which was under her charge, and thereafter reporting the incident to the Divisional Police Officer, DPO, for disciplinary actions to be initiated against the erring officer, she took advantage of the situation to enrich herself by calling her husband, Ibrahim Mohammed, who was also a police inspector, both of whom conspired to unlawfully demand the sum of 1 million naira from the sergeant to assist him in concealing the matter. However, the sergeant offered only 45,000 nairas in cash, which they collected at that instance, and after a few days, contacted the sergeant to request the same sum of 1 million nairas, but the sergeant refused to comply. Dissatisfied by his refusal to follow through with the blackmail, they decided to report the erring officer to the DPO and also simultaneously share the video on social media. Everyone culpable in this case has been sanctioned appropriately, as there is no intention to impede justice. The erring sergeant has been dismissed and prosecuted and is currently in prison custody as the trial progresses. Inspector Edith Uduma was also dismissed for her role, while her complicit husband has been reduced to the rank of corporal. However, it has come to the attention of the force that following her dismissal, Mrs. Edith has made numerous unfounded claims regarding her innocence and has sought to taint the reputation and integrity of the adjudicating authority, the Inspector General of Police in person, and the entire police force. It is imperative to set the record straight and provide clear context regarding her actions and the decision to dismiss her from service. The dismissal of former police inspector Edith Uduma was not only justified but necessary, based on thorough investigations that presented irrefutable evidence of her failure to follow standard incident report protocol to immediately document the incident, attempt to conceal an offender for benefit, participation in extortion, and manipulating the justice process for personal gain. The Nigeria Police Force, under the leadership of the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun, stands firmly against any form of misconduct, particularly in cases of such grave nature involving vulnerable victims. The force maintains a zero-tolerance policy toward corruption, blackmail, and any behavior that seeks to pervert the cause of justice. The actions of the dismissed officer were in direct violation of the values and standards upheld by the Nigeria Police Force and other extant laws of Nigeria. The Nigeria Police Force is committed to transparency and accountability. The force remains resolute in its mission to uphold the law and protect the rights of all individuals. We urge members of the public to disregard the sponsored publications against the stance of the force, and remain vigilant and support legitimate initiatives aimed at achieving justice, rather than being led astray by baseless claims from those seeking to deflect responsibility for their actions. The police statement ends in quote.
bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Prime Minister of Lithuania, Simonite Ingrida, has called on residents in the European Baltic country not to draw conclusion yet on the DHL cargo plane that crashed into residential building early morning on Monday, just as many have taken to social media to speculate possible act of terrorism, which aviation investigative experts from United States of America, USA, Germany and Spain have arrived the Baltic state that share border with Russia in the western region. The DHL cargo plane, a Boeing 737-476 operated by Swiftair, had flown into Lithuania from Germany. It crashed in a residential area in Liepkalnis, on the outskirts of the capital, Vilnius. According to ABC News, on Tuesday, a team of Lithuanian investigators recovered the black boxes from Monday's deadly cargo plane crash, as they began their probe into what caused the aircraft to go down and worked to clear the crash site. Adding, investigators from the US were dispatched to aid in the investigation, officials said. German aviation experts had arrived to help, while Spanish investigators were expected to have arrived Tuesday. The cargo plane crashed, skidded into a house and burst into flames early Monday on the outskirts of Vilnius Airport in Lithuania, resulting in the death of one crew member. 3 crew members, including the pilot, survived the incident, and 12 residents of the affected house were safely evacuated, according to government officials. In a press release, the airport confirmed the crash, which it said was reported at 5:30 a.m. local time. Gabrielius Landsbergis, Lithuania's Minister of Foreign Affairs, confirmed on social media site X that one crew member was killed. Gabrielius Landsbergis said, "Tragically, one crew member is dead and others hospitalized after a DHL cargo aircraft crashed on approach to Vilnius Airport. My condolences to the victims' families. The investigation is ongoing and nothing has been ruled out." On Tuesday, Gabrielius Landsbergis tweeted and stated in quote, "Thanks to my dear friend Madhu Sana for another chance to visit Estonia, to strengthen our bonds and our region's security. We agree on the importance of stepping up preparedness to deal with hybrid attacks, and of sticking together in these turbulent times." 3 others aboard the aircraft survived the crash, including the pilot, according to reports. The crash sent debris flying into a nearby house, but no one on the ground was reportedly injured, officials told Reuters. The cargo plane, operated by airline Swiftair on behalf of DHL, had taken off from Leipzig, Germany, and was due to land at Vilnius Airport. Officials were still investigating the cause of the crash and had not yet ruled out that it may be sabotage, according to Reuters and other media reports. "We cannot reject the possibility of terrorism," Lithuanian counterintelligence chief, Darius Jalniskis told reporters, "but at the moment we can't make attributions or point fingers, because we don't have such information." Lithuanian police and prosecutors had opened a pre-trial investigation into the crash, according to Prime Minister Ingrida Simonite, whose office held a meeting late Monday on the government response. Lithuanian police searched the area where a DHL cargo plane crashed near the Vilnius International Airport in Vilnius on November 25, 2024. The government has ordered an investigation under the country's criminal code, which calls for probes into improper maintenance or repair of vehicles or roads, or of equipment thereon, which provides for liability in the event of loss of life, serious injury to persons or very serious damage to property, the Prime Minister's office said. "I urge everyone to have confidence in the investigating authorities' ability to conduct a thorough and professional investigation within an optimal timeframe," Simonite said in a statement. "Only these investigations will uncover the true causes of the incident. Speculation and guesswork will not help establish the truth," Prime Minister Simonite stated on Monday. "We gathered that the investigation will be led by the Ministry of Justice of the Republic of Lithuania Transport Accident and Incident Investigation Division," with help from the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, the board said on Monday. Simonite Ingrida's statement reads details below. Early warning started with a major incident. It is natural that in the current geopolitical circumstances, we look at each incident differently than before. However, please refrain from drawing far-reaching conclusions. The pre-trial investigation has been started. The police and the prosecutor general's office will comment as much as and when they can without damaging the investigation itself. Such is the specifics of the pre-trial inquiry. Another investigation will also be carried out according to the EU regulations specifically applicable to such incidents. All institutions really want to find out the truth as soon as possible and need to trust them. Messages from NKVC about incidents are one of the most difficult moments of the Prime Minister's job. But from the moment of the incident, the authorities were spinning as fast as possible. The hardest part was waiting for the news how many people died and injured there were. Now we know that the people who were on the plane were killed or injured, and on the ground, despite the residential area and intense traffic arteries, only property was affected. Condolences to the relatives of the deceased. I believe our professional medics will help the injured. The residents of Vilnius have been taken care of by the municipality administration since the beginning of the incident. We are keeping in touch. We will definitely help the municipality, taking care of people, cleaning up the territory, eliminating the consequences of this unusual situation. All local and central government institutions are working. Once again, I urge you not to hurry to share any version you see on the way. Investigation institutions will definitely do the job professionally and will answer questions. The spread of disinformation only makes the work easier for the unfriendly, whose goal is to sow confusion in the state. ABC News Network also reported that one of the pilots, who was from Spain, was pronounced dead at the scene and the other was transferred to a local hospital in critical condition. Bozina Jerenkovic, a medical doctor who was part of the emergency team on site, told ABC reporter on Monday. It appeared that the cockpit had been separated from the plane's fuselage, she added. The Lithuanian National Crisis Management Center confirmed to ABC News that the pilot is in critical condition. The other two people who were injured in the crash are doing okay, according to the crisis center.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Sarah Jakes Roberts, the daughter of a well-known American pastor, Bishop Thomas Dexter Jakes, majorly called T.D. Jakes, has issued a video press statement, stating that her father is currently stable after the preacher had an emergency medical situation while at the altar of his church preaching on Sunday. Sarah was joined in the video press release on Monday early morning with her husband, Ture Roberts, who sought public prayers for the bishop. Bishop T.D. Jakes, daughter Sarah Jakes Roberts, and son-in-law Ture Roberts give an update on his health after he suffered a medical emergency while preaching. Video posted online on Sunday showed moment Bishop T.D. Jakes suffered a medical emergency while delivering a sermon and rushed to the hospital, according to the mega church Potter's House of Dallas, Texas, United States, where T.D. Jakes serves as a pastor. A video of the incident showed the renowned Christian pastor lowering his microphone and shaking in his seat like someone attacked stroke medical condition before church members around him rushed to his aid. In a statement, the church said Jakes experienced a slight health incident and received immediate medical attention following his powerful hour-long message. Bishop Jakes is stable and under the care of medical professionals, the church said. The entire Potter's House family is grateful for the outpouring of love, prayers, and support from the community. Jakes founded the 30,000-member megachurch in southern Dallas, Texas, in 1996. Church services at the Potter's House of Dallas came to abrupt end on Sunday when Bishop T.D. Jakes suffered the health incident mid-sermon. Jakes, a celebrity pastor and motivational speaker, spoke about the joys of preaching shortly before the incident occurred. Video of the medical emergency spread across social media shortly after the incident. I still love to preach. I am tired of preaching, Jets, 67, said to the audience. I miss you. Have you ever gone to a hospital to visit somebody and you thought it was going to encourage them, and they encourage you? That's what preaching is like, he continued. You think you're giving out something, you're getting back more than you gave. The pastor then moved on to quoting Psalm 19:14 before going silent. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength, my Redeemer. Let them go in peace, he said. Jet then stopped speaking and appeared to spasm while sitting in his chair and staring into the distance. Attendees rushed on stage to help him, and a speaker asked the audience to pray for him while he was being attended to. The entire Potter's House family is grateful for the outpouring of love, prayers, and support from the community, the message added. Thank you for your understanding and continued prayers, a press statement by the church reads. Sarah's husband thanked people for their continuous prayers for the recovery of the bishop, saying, the yesterday would have been a tragic day if not God. He said the bishop is strong and doing well.
He's under medical care. He's strong. We're trying to get him to sit down. He's
Come get my seat.
we know, but we really can't thank you enough for your prayers, for your intercession, for all your kind words. And
There got to be somebody special to come get him.
keep praying, keep encouraging. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that he's already beginning to improve, and I think it's just a reminder, even going into this holiday season, we
PMT serve the people of God.
hold near and dear in this place of time. Be grateful.
Love you.
Hey family,
Hey,
I know that today's been
It was a
an
pleasure.
interesting day for us,
I still
but we
love to
didn't want to
preach.
lay down without giving you all.
I ain't tired of preaching. I miss you.
we felt those prayers. Obviously, today could have been
I miss
tragic
you.
day, but it wasn't by the mercy of God, but the grace of God.
Have you ever gone to the hospital to visit somebody
He's under medical
and you
care.
thought you was going to encourage them and they encourage you? That's what preaching is
Thank you
like.
enough for your prayers and your intercession.
You think you're giving out something,
Keep it up. People ask
but you're getting back more than you gave.
keep encouraging. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that he's already beginning to improve, and I think it's just a reminder, even going into this holiday season, to love on the people who you hold near and be grateful. Hey, family.
Now, Lord, let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart
Day for us.
Tough day.
be
But we didn't wanna
acceptable
lay
in
down
thy sight.
without giving you all an update
Oh, Lord,
about how everything is going with Bishop. We want to
my
thank you
strength,
first of all for your
my
prayers, your
Redeemer.
support, your concern. It's truly been
Let
a
them
blessing.
go in
We
peace.
felt those prayers. Obviously, today could have been a tragic day, but it wasn't by the mercy of God, by the grace of God. Bishop is doing well. He's recovering well. He's under medical care. He's strong. We're trying to get him to sit down. He's a strong bishop that we know, but we really can't thank you enough for your prayers, for your intercession, for all your kind words. Keep it up. People asking what can we do. Keep praying. Keep encouraging. It means a lot to me.
Already improve, and I think it's just a reminder, even going into
Back up.
love on the people.
Everybody begin to pray. Come on, stretch your hands this way. Father, in the name of Jesus.
Hey family,
Hey,
I know that today's been an interesting day for us,
a tough day.
but we didn't want to lay down without giving you all an update about how everything is going with Bishop. We want to thank you first of all for your prayers, your support, your concern. It's truly been a blessing.
Yeah, we felt those prayers. Obviously, today could have been a tragic day, but it wasn't. By the mercy of God, by the grace of God, Bishop is doing well. He's recovering well. He's under medical care. He's strong. We're trying to get him to sit down. He's the strong bishop that we know, but we really can't thank you enough for your prayers, for your intercession, for all your kind words, and keep it up. People are asking, what can we do? Keep praying. Keep encouraging. It means a lot to our family.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that he's already beginning to improve. And I think it's just a reminder, even going into this holiday season week, to love on the people who you hold near and dear, and just take the time to be grateful for all the people God's given you.
Thank you. We love you. Appreciate you.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Nigerians have called on Dangote Petroleum Refinery to make significant reduction in the cost of pump price of premium motor spirit, PMS, saying the 20 naira reduction in cost of petrol in Nigeria announced by the company on Sunday is not enough. Nigerians took to the comment section of the Dangote Refinery X social media account to express their feelings over the petrol pump price reduction shortly after the company posted the announcement press release on its verified X social media handle, and after almost all media houses in Nigeria reported the price reduction as breaking news. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery had on Sunday announced a reduction in its price of the premium motor spirit, PMS, also known as petrol, to 970 naira per litre for oil marketers. The company's chief branding and communications officer, Anthony Chiejina, disclosed this in a statement. He said the decision is the refinery's way of appreciating Nigerians for their unwavering support in making the refinery a dream come true. According to the statement, the move is a cut from the refinery's 990 naira ex-depot price announced earlier this month. In addition, this is to thank the government for their support, as this will complement the measures put in place to encourage domestic enterprise for our collective well-being. While the refinery would not compromise on the quality of its petroleum products, we assure you of best quality products that are environmentally friendly and sustainable. We are determined to keep ramping up production to meet and surpass our domestic fuel consumption, thus dispelling any fear of a shortfall in supply. The slash would help marketers save about 20 naira on each litre of petrol bought from the Lekki-based plant, according to news networks. Reactions from Nigerians over the price reduction are presented below with their ex-social media usernames. Sigma T's, this information isn't useful to us. As long as the price is high, the cost of living is high, 970 is still too much. Dr. Tasbol Vet, why not 999 naira? 30 naira is too much love to show. One day, when Nigerians develop a better means, NA go come sit down the drink NA fuel one by one. Isawaya, them think say NA favor them, they do us. Osaro PHDCSU, if you're not ready to sell it at 200 naira per litre, forget it. Walter, I was even hoping like 250. They are boo, not enough. Should be N 550. You are being sold crude in naira. Aba Odu Benishek, Oga Lamba reduce it to something reasonable NA. I am with you. The game is the game. A lot of people don't seem to understand what's going on here. If Tinubu and NNPC still choose to import, they'll eventually incur serious debt, and Dangote can still go on to reduce price. John Asikpo, what's confusing me is that, is it true that they are importing cheaper while Dangote is selling to them at a higher cost, even though it is a domestic company? Dear caller, I saw what you're doing, bro. Keep it up, because some of us love monopoly and we're not hypocrites either. Double mouths. Annie Pascal, there is no competition, that's why you have the audacity to peg it at 970. Dr. VSVP_Ismail, if you own your own refinery, would you sell at a losing rate? Nigerians are sometimes oblivious to the reality. Only government can subsidize. The goal of a private-owned business is to make profit. You can't expect Dangote to be doing FG's job. Perfect being, anyone who feels he can do it cheaper should do so. If you feel Dangote is cheating Nigerians, get your $20 billion and build a refinery of his standard and sell your PMS for 200 nairas. We will all buy from you. Flexibility. What's the difference between 990 nairas and 970 nairas? It's still 1,000 nairas as far as I'm concerned. What can 20 nairas buy in today's Nigeria? The 20 nairas currency has literally disappeared from circulation because of its useless value. Do better. Hussein Abiyad. For 30,000 liters fuel tanker, that 20 nairas amounts to 600,000 naira. Isn't that a good discount for a marketer? Stan. Mount W. Is he talking about marketers? Person when buy 20 liters for car will get 400 naira discount. That can't buy a bottle of Coke. Deji Philip If I buy PMS at 970 naira per liter in Lagos, ship to Kano, how much will I sell it in Kano? Sell PMS into Nigeria at COP, then sell other byproducts, including base oils at profitable rates. It can be done, and your bottom line will still be thick. Oslo PhD, still too high. 200 nairas per liter and without subsidy is what will get this economy running again. The government, NNPCL and Dangote can do it if they truly want a prosperous country. Hiding behind international price of crude oil to price petrol this high is disingenuous, wicked and unpatriotic. Advocate, una never start. All of una that want to suffocate the common man because of your own selfish interest will get tired. I thought you guys refused to disclose the price of your product to the general public. Ismail, this is commendable, but be fully transparent with Nigerians. How much subsidy is the government paying you? Mr. Chairs Eden of our time. All that Dangote feuding with NNPC was manufactured to increase fuel to 1,000 nairas. Without that artificial scarcity and fake quarrel, fuel would have been at 500 nairas, which was still high by Niger standard. A greedy man never changes. Yaya Oseni, welcome development. Dangote refinery is here for business and $20 billion is not meant for charity. He has to pay his loans and make profit. Mr. Emeka Power, please sir, we thank you for your concerns and price reduction. However, you achieved a milestone this year, completing your refinery and returning back to the richest man in Africa. Please, a significant reduction should be made so that the common man can be able to afford PMS. James Okoro, Aliko Dangote, you know in your heart if this is what appreciation looks like for people who stood by you when NNPC Limited and Co. wanted to sink your $20 billion investment with Malta products. We remember very well. If you wish to give back to humanity, give to Nigerians now that they need it. Tondekoni, not enough sir. We still won't be able to feel the impact of such reduction in the country. 500 to 550 would drastically put a hold to the sufferings of the people of the land. We are oil producing country for crying out loud. What is wrong as a nation? Balogun Akonji, after all the incentives benefited from the government of Nigeria and her people, you decided to milk us dry and get us impoverished. You have tried. Well done. This is just a testament that there is surely a day of reckoning.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Federal High Court in Abuja has ordered First City Monument Bank, FCMB and Nigerian Army to jointly pay the sum of 416,650,000 nairas as damages for conspiring together and illegally placed post no debit (PND) without valid court order on the account of a bank customer, Major Akim Adorogba Oseni, who was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment for manslaughter. The court in its ruling noted that FCMB may have acted out of fear of the Nigerian army, but the court ordered both FCMB and the Nigerian army to jointly pay the sum of 100 million naira as general damage and 300 million naira as exemplary damages as a deterrent to the bank and the military institution, that none of them is above the law or have the right to usurp the powers of a law court or deny a bank customer the fundamental right to own a movable and immovable property anywhere in Nigeria as enshrined in the Constitution. It would be recalled that the Nigerian Army officer, Major Akim Adoroba Oseni, in 2020 was convicted by a general court-martial in Abuja, and thereafter he escaped from court premises and was later apprehended in Benin Republic at the Cotonou International Airport around. Major Oseni was one of 3 army personnel jailed in February 2020 for 10 years over the death of a Lance Corporal, Benjamin Collins. Some soldiers were detained and were quizzed by the Army Headquarters garrison in relation to how Oseni escaped in the first instance. But Court of Appeal later set Oseni free from the manslaughter conviction. Justice G.K. Olotu of the Federal High Court in Abuja gave the order in a judgment delivered on October 28, and whose certified true copy was made available online by family and friends of Major Oseni. According to the court document, the applicant, Major Oseni, had sued the Nigerian Army and First City Monument Bank as first and second respondents respectively in a suit marked FHC ABJ CS 1104-2021 for placing his account on a post-no debit from February 2020. The applicant had in a fundamental human rights suit dated September 13, 2021, and filed on September 22, 2021, sought 13 reliefs, among which are a declaration that the act of the second respondent, FCMB, placing the personal account of the applicant domiciled at First City Monument Bank, with account number 26561520013 on post-no debit from February 2020, till date on the directives of the first respondent, Nigerian Army, without a valid court order, now affording the applicant adequate time and facility to be heard, is illegal, wrongful, unlawful, and constitutes a blatant violation of the applicant's fundamental rights to a fair hearing, the presumption of innocence, rights to own movable and immovable property anywhere in Nigeria as enshrined in sections 36, 136, 5, 43 and 44 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as altered, sections 1, 1 and 2 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, 2015, and Articles 2, 3, 2, 4 and 7, 2 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, Ratification and Enforcement, Act Cap A9 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004. A declaration that the dehumanization of the applicant by the operatives of the first respondent, while in their custody for 10 months, is illegal, wrongful, unlawful and constitutes a blatant violation of his fundamental human rights as enshrined in sections 35, 1, 3, 4, 37 and 41, 1 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as altered, sections 1, 1, 2 and 30, 1, 2, 32, 1, 2 and 3 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, 2015, and Articles 6 and 12 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, Ratification and Enforcement, Act Cap A9 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004. A declaration that the continuous denial of the applicant's access to his funds is a blatant disregard of his constitutional provision to own movable and immovable property, as there was no court order granted to that regard, therefore illegal, wrongful, unlawful and constitutes a blatant violation of the applicant's fundamental rights as enshrined in sections 35, 1, 3, 41, 1 and 43 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as altered, and sections 1, 1, 2 and 30, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2 and 3 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, 2015, and Articles 6 and 12 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, Ratification and Enforcement, Act Cap A9 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, among others. The applicant's account was placed on PND following the manslaughter investigation that allegedly took place in his office. The applicant, who was a field officer the week an attempted jailbreak occurred, was asked alongside other officers to take out the soldier, drill and relocate him to a separate detention facility within the cantonment. The soldier was afterwards handed over to the applicant to drill, frog jump, forward roll and counsel, which he did as instructed. Later that day, the applicant was told that the soldier was struggling with his leg cuff. He was rushed to the Defense Medical Headquarters, where he was confirmed dead after arrival. The applicant was court-martialed by the army and pronounced guilty of manslaughter, thereafter sentenced to 10 years in prison. The Court of Appeal, however, discharged and acquitted the applicant in a landmark appeal on October 31, 2022, and he was released from Kuje Correctional Center on November 1, 2022. Upon his imprisonment, his account was placed on PND, restraining him from accessing money for his family, according to Punch newspaper. The court, in its judgment according to the copy made available as news item, held that the evidence before the court shows that respondents acted arbitrarily and over their powers in their dealings with the applicant, particularly in these respects. The joint action of the respondents to place the personal account of the applicant on a post-no debit since February 2020 till date, without a valid court order or affording the applicant the right to be held as constitutionally guaranteed. The action of the first respondent to conduct a search in a Gestapo manner and remove cash and valuables from the applicant's private apartment without a valid search warrant. The dehumanizing treatment of placing the applicant on handcuff and leg chain while in the custody of the first respondent before the confirmation of his sentence by the Army Council. Failure of the first respondent to grant bail to the applicant within 24 hours or 48 hours of his arrest, detention pending confirmation of his sentence by the Army Council. Justice Olotu therefore ruled that the first and second respondents connived and conspired to illegally freeze the applicant's account. The first respondent usurped the power of the court to order a freezing of the account by instructing the second respondent to freeze the applicant's account. Ironically, the applicant's finance was not implicated in the investigation of the case of manslaughter against him. And the second respondent, knowing better, either for fear of the first respondent or for reasons best known to it, obeyed the first respondent's instructions and froze the applicant's account. Whatever angle their conducts are viewed from, they acted clearly outside their powers. They probably thought that they were above the law, but the principle of exemplary damages will now tell them and show them that they are not above the law and that the law has no respect for anyone who breaks it. It was a big stick which it used and will now use to correct the abusive and excessive tendencies of the respondents. The first respondent also acted more than its powers in dehumanizing the applicant. The applicant claimed the sum of 2 billion nairas award of general and exemplary damages. I award 100 million nairas as general damages and 300 million nairas as exemplary damages against the respondents jointly and severally in favor of the applicant, Justice Olotu held.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
President Vladimir Putin of Russia on Thursday early morning night ordered the use of intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBM, in the Dnipro region of Ukraine, which caused injuries and destruction of buildings. But Putin, in a video broadcast on Friday, said the weapon used in Dnipro was intermediate-range ballistic missile, IRBM. The missile targeted industrial and critical infrastructure, causing fires and injuring 2 people. Local reporters stated that the missile was launched from Russia's Astrakhan region, accompanied by a Kinzhal hypersonic missile and 7 Kh-101 cruise missiles. Ukrainian defenses intercepted 6 of the cruise missiles but did not confirm the ICBM or IRBM impact. The attack followed Ukraine's use of US and British missiles on Russian territory, worsening the conflict. Moscow warned that these attacks could cause serious consequences. Military observers said although Ukraine's Patriot systems can intercept short-range missiles, they are not optimized for ICB aims. Analysts question whether the US was pre-notified of the launch to avoid accidental retaliation. Ukraine fired UK-supplied long-range Storm Shadow missiles at targets within Russia for the first time, according to BBC. Earlier, Ukraine had said that Russia is staging a psychological attack in spreading messages of a large attack after the US closes its embassy in Kyiv over an airstrike threat. Russian President Vladimir Putin, in a nationwide address, stated that Western long-range missiles were used in strikes on military facilities in Russia's Bryansk and Kursk regions, marking a shift in the Ukraine conflict to a global war. He warned that these attacks require the direct involvement of operators from the manufacturing countries. Putin, during the nationwide broadcast, announced the successful test of the new intermediate-range ballistic missile, IRBM Ravishing, equipped with a known nuclear hypersonic warhead, and confirmed its use in a strike on Uzuobo. He emphasized that the West should reconsider plans to enable strikes deep inside Russia, warning of decisive Russian retaliation in case of escalation. Although Putin claimed the enemy's objectives were not achieved, he pledged to issue prior warnings to Ukrainian civilians in areas targeted by such missiles. He also criticized the US for violating the agreement to eliminate long-range missiles, transferring its weapons to different regions of the world. In a swift reaction, President Volodymyr Zelensky on Friday said, "Today, Putin admitted to taking a second step this year toward escalating and expanding this war. A new ballistic missile was used. Putin struck our city of Dnipro, one of Ukraine's largest cities. This is a clear and severe escalation in the scale and brutality of this war, a cynical violation of the UN Charter by Russia. Let me emphasize, this is already Russia's second step toward escalation this year. The first was involving North Korea in the war against Ukraine with a contingent of at least 11,000 soldiers. Putin has taken both of these steps while ignoring everyone in the world who is calling for no further expansion of the war. He disregards calls from China, Brazil, European countries, the United States, and others. Putin alone started this war, an entirely unprovoked war, and he is doing everything to prolong it, now for over 1,000 days. The use of a ballistic missile against Ukraine today is yet more proof that Russia has no interest in peace. Putin lies when he claims that Ukraine's use of long-range weapons is somehow a new step for us. This is not the first time we have used such weapons, and we have every right to do so under international law. Our right to self-defense is the same as that of any other nation. And when Russian missiles hit our cities, when Iranian Shaheds attack Ukraine every night, when a North Korean contingent is deployed on our borders, Putin is not only prolonging the war, he is spitting in the face of those in the world who genuinely want peace to be restored. The world must respond. Right now, there is no strong reaction from the world. Putin is very sensitive to this. He is testing you, their partners. It is clear who the sole culprit of this war is, who started it on February 24th and who continues to pour all resources into its continuation. He must be stopped. A lack of tough reactions to Russia's actions sends a message that such behavior is acceptable. This is what Putin is doing. Putin must feel the cost of his deranged ambitions. Response is needed. Pressure is needed. Russia must be forced into real peace, which can only be achieved through strength. Otherwise, there will be endless Russian strikes, threats, and destabilization, not just against Ukraine. True peace is worth fighting for. Action is required. Thank you to everyone who is helping. Glory to Ukraine. Zelensky words and in quote. We had on Tuesday reported that there seems to be possible escalation of the more than 1,000-day-old Russia-Ukraine war as Ukraine fired United States of America, USA-made Army tactical missile systems, ATACMS, into a major ammunition depot in Karachev area of Bryansk Oblast region of Russia on Tuesday after President Joe Biden gave Kyiv approval to use its long-range missiles inside Russia. An action which prompted President Vladimir Putin to hold emergency nuclear weapon meeting with his team and also signed into law the use of the nuclear weapon against country assisting non-nuclear nation against Moscow, a statement which apparently indicated that Russia may have planned to attack US. Reports from Ukraine indicated that Russia intensified airstrikes against Ukraine during the weekend. Videos posted online on Tuesday showed large explosions at a major ammunition depot, Grau Arsenal in Karachev in the Bryansk Oblast of Russia, located about 115 kilometers from Ukraine. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told journalists that new changes to Russia's nuclear weapons doctrine signed by President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday mean the use of Western non-nuclear rockets by the armed forces of Ukraine against Russia can prompt a nuclear response. According to reports, the ATACMS strikes by Ukraine affected the facility near Karachev, 70 miles from Ukraine's border, with secondary explosions reported. Footage showed a fiery explosion followed by plumes of smoke. Ukrainian military sources confirmed the success of the operation, marking a turning point in the conflict as US-made missiles are now part of Kyiv's arsenal. Russia claimed its air defenses intercepted 5 missiles, but debris from one caused a fire at a military site. In response, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a new law allowing nuclear retaliation for long-range missile attacks, lowering the threshold for deploying nuclear weapons. Putin also issued a direct warning to the US, accusing the Biden administration of recklessness after its recent approval for Ukraine to use ATACMS. Russian lawmakers condemned Washington's decision, with one senior official calling it a significant step toward World War III. This escalation comes on the 1,000th day of the war, underscoring the growing global tensions. The Russian Defense Ministry said that it defeated a Ukrainian attack that used US-made missiles shortly before the Kremlin updated its nuclear weapons doctrine to allow for nuclear strikes in response to foreign ballistic missile attacks. The changes to Russia's nuclear doctrine were unveiled several weeks ago but only signed by Putin on Tuesday, as officials in Moscow expressed anger at the US decision to allow ATACMS use on Russian territory. The doctrine now says Russia can launch a nuclear attack against a country assisting a non-nuclear country in aggression against Russia. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Tuesday, the fact that ATACMS was used repeatedly in the Bryansk region tonight is, of course, a signal that they want escalation. And it is impossible to use these high-tech missiles without the Americans, as Putin has repeatedly said.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Nigeria apex lawmaking body. The Senate under the leadership of Godswill Akpabio has approved the sum of $2.2 billion fresh loan application by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, few days after the president said the former Nigeria president from 1999 to 2007, Olusegun Obasanjo, was not wise to have paid off Nigeria $15 billion debts he inherited. A statement the president made in reaction to Obasanjo's speech at the leadership forum held in honor and memory of one of the country's great literary icons, late Chinua Achebe at Yale University, United States of America, USA, and the new loan, if accessed, has made Nigeria debt's profile to rise above 136 trillion nairas, just as the country is currently and apparently borrowing money to finance recurrent expenditures, especially borrowing funds to pay back previous loans. Sahara Reporters News Network, in a report few hours ago, stated that the Nigerian Senate has finally approved a fresh $2.2 billion, about 1.77 trillion nairas, request made by President Bola Tinubu. The legislative approval was given by the Senate after the submission of a report by Aliyu Wamaku, chairman of the Committee on Local and Foreign Debt. The sum, equivalent to 1.7 trillion nairas using the exchange rate of 800 nairas to a dollar, will be used to finance the 9.1 trillion nairas deficit in the 2024 budget. Earlier, Nigerian media space was awash with criticisms from former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, who strongly criticized President Bola Tinubu's leadership, stating that Nigeria is becoming a failing state due to widespread corruption, poor leadership, and immorality. Obasanjo made the remarks during his keynote address at the Chinua Achebe Leadership Forum held at Yale University. Obasanjo emphasized that the country's situation is dire, with corruption, insecurity, conflict, and disunity on the rise. He attributed Nigeria's problems to the reign of Baba Go Slow, President Muhammadu Buhari, and Emilokon, President Bola Tinubu, citing the consequences of pervasive corruption, mediocrity, immorality, misconduct, mismanagement, and injustice. The former president urged the leadership to prioritize the betterment of the people, rather than succumbing to foreign influences. He warned against state capture by vested interests, which he described as one of the most pervasive forms of corruption. Obasanjo noted that public institutions are being manipulated for personal gains, undermining the country's progress. Obasanjo expressed concern about rising insecurity and food scarcity, emphasizing that addressing these issues is crucial to preventing instability. He accused politicians of exploiting vulnerable citizens instead of providing concrete solutions to their problems. In response to Obasanjo's criticism, the presidency countered with allegations of hypocrisy, citing Obasanjo's own leadership shortcomings during his tenure. Tinubu, speaking through the office of the Special Advisor to the President, Bayo Onanuga, stated that Obasanjo's administration was marred by corruption, including the Halliburton bribe scandal and the failed $16 billion power project. Olusegun Obasanjo also called for the dismissal of the chairman of INEC, Mahmood Yakubu, and officials of the commission at all levels as part of a reform of the electoral process in Nigeria. He delivered the address, titled Leadership Failure and State Capture in Nigeria, in a pre-recorded speech played at the event. Obasanjo described the 2023 general election as a travesty, adding that the reform of the electoral system is a key agenda for the country. The former president also called for shorter tenures for INEC officials and a more rigorous vetting process to prevent the appointment of partisan individuals. As a matter of urgency, we must ensure the INEC chairperson and their staff are thoroughly vetted. The vetting exercise should produce dispassionate, non-partisan actors with impeccable reputations. Nigeria must ensure the appointment of new credible INEC leadership at the federal, state, local government, and municipal, city, town, and village levels, with short tenures to prevent undesirable political influence and corruption, and to re-establish trust in the electoral system by its citizens, he said. He argued that the INEC chairperson must not only be absolutely above board but must also be transparently independent and incorruptible. Obasanjo said the commission willfully failed to utilize two main technological tools at its disposal, the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System, BVAS, and the INEC Election Result Viewing Portal, IREV, during the 2023 presidential election, despite the promises made by Yakubu. The BVAS and IREV are two technological innovations that, prior to 2023, were celebrated for their potential to enhance the accuracy and transparency of our election results, eliminate the threat of election rigging, and boost public trust in electoral outcomes. These technologies were touted by the INEC chairman himself. In the end, these technologies did not fail. INEC willfully failed to use or implement them, which resulted in widespread voting irregularities. It was a case of inviting the fox into the henhouse, he said. Details of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's response to Obasanjo criticism, titled Former President Obasanjo was not an ideal leader to emulate, reads verbatim below. In a recent display of his characteristic self-importance, former President Olusegun Obasanjo once again took to the public stage to bestow his unsolicited wisdom on leaders and governance in Nigeria. From his lofty perch, he blamed those who served after his tenure for the nation's myriad challenges. Unfortunately, the former leader's habit of casting aspersions on every subsequent administration has devolved into a recurring pastime, overshadowing the expectation of an elder statesman to join a constructive dialogue on attaining national progress. In his latest critique of the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, whom he pejoratively called Baba Go Slow, and President Bola Tinubu, who he tagged Emilokon, Chief Obasanjo used the platform provided by Chinua Achebe Leadership Forum at Yale University to unfurl his latest treatise on leadership and public morality. He also used the forum to write of Nigeria as a failing country. The irony of Chief Obasanjo using the platform that celebrates Achebe to sermonize on the ideals of good governance, statecraft, economic management, and corruption should be apparent to discerning minds. When he was alive, Chinua Achebe was a universally acclaimed moral, cultural and literary icon with scant regard for Obasanjo. It is on record that Professor Achebe rejected the third highest national honor bestowed on him by the Obasanjo-led administration in 2004 on the grounds of the prevalence of abuse of power, corruption, poor leadership, and, in particular, state-sponsored brigandage endorsed by Chief Obasanjo in Achebe's home state of Anambra. In Anambra, the former president actively supported the abduction of a sitting governor, Dr. Chris Ngige, by non-state actors led by Chris Uba, a younger brother of Obasanjo's senior Ed. In rejecting the 2004 national honor by the Obasanjo administration, Achebe declared, "Nigeria's condition today under your watch is too dangerous for silence. I must register my disappointment and protest by declining to accept the high honor awarded me in the 2004 honors list." Brazen illegality and assault on the Constitution of Nigeria reached a disturbing height under the leadership of Chief Obasanjo. During Obasanjo's era, the unconstitutional impeachment of 4 governors who belonged to his party occurred. The governors impeached by minority members of the Houses of Assembly were Joshua Dariye of Plateau, Rashidi Ladoja of Oyo, Ayodele Fayose of Ekiti and Depriye Alamesia of Bayelsa. A man under whose watch all of these egregious infractions occurred should certainly not be the one to give any lecture on leadership and corruption. He should not be taken seriously as he reeks of profound hypocrisy of the worst form. Former President Obasanjo has continuously pumped himself up as the economic wizard of Nigeria. But a reality check showed he was nothing of such. He left unresolved many, if not all, of the problems of Nigeria, which he itemized in his lecture. He even recently admitted that his government made a mistake by not focusing on gas development, as the Tinubu administration does today. All oil and gas players know that Nigeria has more gas than oil. The only positive of the Obasanjo era was fiscal and monetary policy management buoyed by a consistent rise in crude oil prices throughout his 8-year tenure. This rise in crude oil prices started in 2000 and peaked in 2013 when it reached over $100 per barrel before a decline in 2014, which set the oil-dependent economy downward. The current economic crisis the All Progressives Congress administrations have been battling since 2015 is the product of the poor choices in economic management made by Obasanjo and the 2 successors from his party. Obasanjo prides his government on paying the $15 billion debt owed to the Paris Club. Still, it was not a wise decision as it was done when the country's critical economic infrastructure across sectors was in shambles. While oil receipts brought money into the country, Obasanjo failed to fix the deplorable federal roads or expand the national road network. He did not repair the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the Lagos-Abeokuta road leading to his hometown in Abeokuta, the Ota Idiroko Road, and many others. His administration also should have paid more serious attention to universities and polytechnics. In a joint vote of no confidence in our tertiary institutions, Obasanjo and his deputy, Atiku Abubakar, sought to profit from their weaknesses by establishing their private universities. As a sitting president, Chief Obasanjo abused his office to advance personal interest against the spirit and letters of our constitution when he corralled leading businessmen, women and government contractors to donate billions of naira for his Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library and Resorts in Abeokuta and his Bell University in Ota. After wasting billions of naira on a failed third-term project in 2007, Chief Obasanjo hurriedly organized a sham electoral process that would go down in history as the most fraudulent election held in Nigeria since 1960. The beneficiary of the sham election, Umaru Yar'Adua, admitted that the election was seriously flawed and, as Justice Mohammed Oweisi's panel recommended, worked towards electoral reforms. It is hypocrisy writ large when a man who presided over the worst election in Nigeria demands the sack of the leadership of the Independent National Electoral Commission. For 8 years, the Obasanjo administration made no significant investment in security by modernizing the armed forces. He did not redesign the national security architecture or change the military doctrine. The most critical investment in our armed forces, especially the military, since the administration of President Shehu Shagari in 1980 was made by the APC-led administration of President Buhari from 2015-2023. When President Buhari assumed office in 2015, the Air Force had fewer than 3 serviceable fighter jets, and the Navy barely had 1 serviceable vessel. Within 8 years, President Buhari acquired over 40 new fighter jets of different capabilities, including 12 Tucano jets. He also acquired naval ships to strengthen the Navy. The APC administration of Buhari developed the air wings of the Army and Navy and changed the entire armed forces into one of the most potent fighting forces in the world. President Tinubu has continued to sustain the same support and funding to the military and other security agencies. It is the reason the country is winning in the multi-pronged fight against Boko Haram terrorists, bandits, kidnappers, and other perpetrators of violent crimes. In the last year, over 400 terror and bandit kingpins have been eliminated, and thousands of Nigerians have been freed from their abductors. The insecurity that engulfed Nigeria started under the Obasanjo administration with militancy and kidnapping of expatriate oil workers in the Niger Delta, which later became a festering wound from which the nation has not recovered. Boko Haram, which became a violent movement in 2009, began its build-up under Obasanjo's regime. On matters of integrity, honesty, and morality in public leadership, Chief Obasanjo is certainly not a paragon of virtue for anyone to model after. Nigerians can still remember the messy public spark between Chief Obasanjo and his then Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, over PTDF money that led to a Senate public hearing in 2004. The sordid details of the public hearing included unsettling evidence of how Obasanjo instructed his vice president to buy sport utility vehicles for his mistresses with PTDF funds. There was also the Halliburton bribe scandal, which the U.S. Congress probe revealed. Bribe payments were made to the highest political authorities at the villa while Obasanjo was in charge. Nigerians will also remember how the Obasanjo administration invested $16 billion on electricity, which left the country in utter darkness. The colossal amount spent on power was so embarrassing that President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, Obasanjo's successor, ordered a probe. Similarly, Obasanjo's privatization program was scandalous. It did not deliver real value for the country. His administration cheaply sold national assets to cronies who stripped the assets of the state-owned enterprises. A case in point was the aluminium smelter company Alscon in Ikot Abasi, Akwa Ibom State, built by the military government at the princely sum of $3.2 billion. It was sold for $130 million. Obasanjo also sank money into turnaround maintenance of our refineries, which never worked, leading to the massive importation of refined petroleum products. Such was the miasma of corruption under Obasanjo that the former governor of Abia, Orji Uzokalu, his party member, petitioned the EFCC, accusing Obasanjo of gross abuse of office. If Chief Obasanjo had addressed the many problems he critiqued in his poorly written young lecture when he ruled Nigeria for 8 years, President Buhari and President Tinubu would have had a much lighter burden of fixing the country. While the Tinubu administration diligently works to overcome the country's economic challenges, it would be better and more advisable for former President Obasanjo to temper his self-righteousness in his public discussions regarding our nation's temporary difficulties. Instead, his remaining years would be better spent reflecting on the missed opportunities during his own time in leadership, both as military head of state and civilian president. Bayo Onanuga, Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, stated in a rebuttal issued on behalf of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on November 18, 2024.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
International Criminal Court, ICC, has ordered the arrest of Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the country's former Secretary of Defense, Yoav Gallant, alongside Hamas military leader, Diab Ibrahim al-Masri, also known as Mohammed Deif, whose current living status is unknown. ICC, in a press statement which the full details is published verbatim below, said, the court initially issued the arrest warrant and classified it secret in the interest of witnesses of the crime, but decided to make it public in the general interest of the victims of the war crime and the families of the victims of the war against humanity. Al-Masri, also known as Mohammed Deif, was the mastermind behind the 7th of October attacks, according to security operatives. It is unclear if he is still alive, following an airstrike that Israel claimed killed him earlier this year. The court originally said it was seeking arrest warrants for the 3 men in May for the alleged crimes, and today announced that it had rejected challenges by Israel and issued warrants of arrest. ICC said it found reasonable grounds to believe that Netanyahu and Gallant bear criminal responsibility for alleged crimes. These, the court said, include the war crime of starvation as a method of warfare, and the crimes against humanity of murder, persecution, and other inhumane acts. The statement said the court pre-trial chamber had rejected Israel's challenges to the court's jurisdiction and issued warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant. It will now be up to the ICC's 124 member states, who do not include Israel or its ally, the United States, to decide whether or not to enforce the warrants, according to BBC. In May, the ICC prosecutor, Karim Khan, sought warrants for Netanyahu, Gallant, Deif, and 2 other Hamas leaders who have since been killed, Ismail Haniyeh and Yahya Sinwar. Although Israel believes Deif has also been killed, the chamber said it was not able to confirm his death. ICC stated that the alleged crime stems from the events of the 7th of October 2023, when Hamas gunmen attacked southern Israel, killing about 1,200 people and taking 251 others back to Gaza as hostages, while specifically mentioning the alleged war crime committed by Israel to have begun on October 8, 2023 to May 20, 2024, when the prosecutor filed the warrant of arrest case against the State of Israel. Verbatim of the ICC statement reads in quote below, today, on the 21st of November 2024, Pre-trial Chamber I of the International Criminal Court, in its composition for the situation in the State of Palestine, unanimously issued 2 decisions rejecting challenges by the State of Israel, brought under Articles 18 and 19 of the Rome Statute, the Statute. It also issued warrants of arrest for Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu and Mr. Yoav Gallant. Decisions on requests by the State of Israel. the chamber ruled on two requests submitted by the Israel on the 26th of September 2024. In the first request, Israel challenged the court's jurisdiction over the situation in the state of Palestine in general, and over Israeli nationals more specifically, on the basis of Article 19(2) of the statute. In the second request, Israel requested that the chamber order the prosecution to provide a new notification of the initiation of an investigation to its authorities under Article 18(1) of the statute. Israel also requested the chamber to halt any proceedings before the court in the relevant situation, including the consideration of the applications for warrants of arrest for Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu and Mr. Yoav Gallant, submitted by the prosecution on the 20th of May 2024. As to the first challenge, the chamber noted that the acceptance by Israel of the court's jurisdiction is not required, as the court can exercise its jurisdiction on the basis of territorial jurisdiction of Palestine, as determined by pre-trial chamber I in a previous composition. Furthermore, the chamber considered that pursuant to Article 19(1) of the statute, states are not entitled to challenge the court's jurisdiction under Article 19(2) prior to the issuance of a warrant of arrest. Thus, Israel's challenge is premature. This is without prejudice to any future possible challenges to the court's jurisdiction and/or admissibility of any particular case. Decision on Israel's challenge to the jurisdiction of the court pursuant to Article 19(2) of the Rome Statute. The chamber also rejected Israel's request under Article 18(1) of the statute. The chamber recalled that the prosecution notified Israel of the initiation of an investigation in 2021. At that time, despite a clarification request by the prosecution, Israel elected not to pursue any request for deferral of the investigation. Further, the chamber considered that the parameters of the investigation in the situation have remained the same and, as a consequence, no new notification to the State of Israel was required. In light of this, the judges found that there was no reason to halt the consideration of the applications for warrants of arrest. Decision on Israel's request for an order to the prosecution to give an Article 18(1) notice. Warrants of arrest. The chamber issued warrants of arrest for two individuals, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu and Mr. Yoav Gallant, for crimes against humanity and war crimes committed from at least the 8th of October 2023 until at least the 20th of May 2024, the day the prosecution filed the applications for warrants of arrest. The arrest warrants are classified as secret in order to protect witnesses and to safeguard the conduct of the investigations. However, the chamber decided to release the information below since conduct similar to that addressed in the warrant of arrest appears to be ongoing. Moreover, the chamber considers it to be in the interest of victims and their families that they are made aware of the warrant's existence. At the outset, the chamber considered that the alleged conduct of Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Gallant falls within the jurisdiction of the court. The chamber recalled that, in a previous composition, it already decided that the court's jurisdiction in the situation extended to Gaza and the West Bank, including East Jerusalem. Furthermore, the chamber declined to use its discretionary proprio motu powers to determine the admissibility of the two cases at this stage. This is without prejudice to any determination as to the jurisdiction and admissibility of the cases at a later stage. With regard to the crimes, the chamber found reasonable grounds to believe that Mr. Netanyahu, born on the 21st of October 1949, Prime Minister of Israel at the time of the relevant conduct, and Mr. Gallant, born on the 8th of November 1958, Minister of Defense of Israel at the time of the alleged conduct, each bear criminal responsibility for the following crimes as co-perpetrators for committing the acts jointly with others: the war crime of starvation as a method of warfare, and the crimes against humanity of murder, persecution, and other inhuman acts. The chamber also found reasonable grounds to believe that Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Gallant each bear criminal responsibility as civilian superiors for the war crime of intentionally directing an attack against the civilian population. Alleged crimes. The chamber found reasonable grounds to believe that during the relevant time, international humanitarian law related to international armed conflict between Israel and Palestine applied. This is because they are two high contracting parties to the 1949 Geneva Conventions and because Israel occupies at least parts of Palestine. The chamber also found that the law related to non-international armed conflict applied to the fighting between Israel and Hamas. The chamber found that the alleged conduct of Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Gallant concerned the activities of Israeli government bodies and the armed forces against the civilian population in Palestine, more specifically civilians in Gaza. It therefore concerned the relationship between two parties to an international armed conflict, as well as the relationship between an occupying power and the population in occupied territory. For these reasons, with regards to war crimes, the chamber found it appropriate to issue the arrest warrants pursuant to the law of international armed conflict. The chamber also found that the alleged crimes against humanity were part of a widespread and systematic attack against the civilian population of Gaza. The chamber considered that there are reasonable grounds to believe that both individuals intentionally and knowingly deprived the civilian population in Gaza of objects indispensable to their survival, including food, water, and medicine and medical supplies, as well as fuel and electricity, from at least the 8th of October 2023 to the 20th of May 2024. This finding is based on the role of Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Gallant in impeding humanitarian aid in violation of international humanitarian law and their failure to facilitate relief by all means at its disposal. The chamber found that their conduct led to the disruption of the ability of humanitarian organizations to provide food and other essential goods to the population in need in Gaza. The aforementioned restrictions, together with cutting of electricity and reducing fuel supply, also had a severe impact on the availability of water in Gaza and the ability of hospitals to provide medical care. The chamber also noted that decisions allowing or increasing humanitarian assistance into Gaza were often conditional. They were not meant to fulfill Israel's obligations under international humanitarian law or to ensure that the civilian population in Gaza would be adequately supplied with goods in need. In fact, they were a response to the pressure of the international community or requests by the United States of America. In any event, the increases in humanitarian assistance were not sufficient to improve the population's access to essential goods. Furthermore, the chamber found reasonable grounds to believe that no clear military need or other justification under international humanitarian law could be identified for the restrictions placed on access for humanitarian relief operations. Despite warnings and appeals made by, inter alia, the UN Security Council, UN Secretary General, states, and governmental and civil society organizations about the humanitarian situation in Gaza, only minimal humanitarian assistance was authorized. In this regard, the chamber considered the prolonged period of deprivation and Mr. Netanyahu's statement connecting the halt in the essential goods and humanitarian aid with the goals of war. The chamber therefore found reasonable grounds to believe that Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Gallant bear criminal responsibility for the war crime of starvation as a method of warfare. The chamber found that there are reasonable grounds to believe that the lack of food, water, electricity and fuel, and specific medical supplies, created conditions of life calculated to bring about the destruction of part of the civilian population in Gaza, which resulted in the death of civilians, including children due to malnutrition and dehydration. On the basis of material presented by the prosecution covering the period until the 20th of May 2024, the chamber could not determine that all elements of the crime against humanity of extermination were met. However, the chamber did find that there are reasonable grounds to believe that the crime against humanity of murder was committed in relation to these victims. In addition, by intentionally limiting or preventing medical supplies and medicine from getting into Gaza, in particular anesthetics and anesthesia machines, The two individuals are also responsible for inflicting great suffering by means of inhuman acts on persons in need of treatment. Doctors were forced to operate on wounded persons and carry out amputations, including on children, without anesthetics, and/or were forced to use inadequate and unsafe means to sedate patients, causing these persons extreme pain and suffering. This amounts to the crime against humanity of other inhumane acts. The chamber also found reasonable grounds to believe that the above-mentioned conduct deprived a significant portion of the civilian population in Gaza of their fundamental rights, including the rights to life and health, and that the population was targeted based on political and/or national grounds. It therefore found that the crime against humanity of persecution was committed. Finally, the chamber assessed that there are reasonable grounds to believe that Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Gallant bear criminal responsibility as civilian superiors for the war crime of intentionally directing attacks against the civilian population of Gaza. In this regard, the chamber found that the material provided by the prosecution only allowed it to make findings on two incidents that qualified as attacks that were intentionally directed against civilians. Reasonable grounds to believe exist that Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Gallant, despite having measures available to them to prevent or repress the commission of crimes or ensure the submittal of the matter to the competent authorities, failed to do so. Background: on the 1st of January 2015, the State of Palestine lodged a declaration under Article 12(3) of the Rome Statute accepting jurisdiction of the court since the 13th of June 2014. On the 2nd of January 2015, the State of Palestine acceded to the Rome Statute by depositing its instrument of accession with the UN Secretary-General. The Rome Statute entered into force for the State of Palestine on the 1st of April 2015. On the 22nd of May 2018, pursuant to Articles 13(a) and 14 of the Rome Statute, the State of Palestine referred to the prosecutor the situation since the 13th of June 2014, with no end date. On the 3rd of March 2021, the prosecutor announced the opening of the investigation into the situation in the State of Palestine. This followed pre-trial chamber's decision on the 5th of February 2021 that the court could exercise its criminal jurisdiction in the situation and, by majority, that the territorial scope of this jurisdiction extends to Gaza and the West Bank, including East Jerusalem. On the 17th of November 2023, the Office of the Prosecutor received a further referral of the situation in the State of Palestine from South Africa, Bangladesh, Bolivia, Comoros, and Djibouti, and on the 18th of January 2024, the Republic of Chile and the United Mexican States additionally submitted a referral to the prosecutor with respect to the situation in the State of Palestine.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
There seems to be possible escalation of the 1,000-day-old Russia-Ukraine war as Ukraine fired United States of America, USA-made Army tactical missile systems, ATACMS, into a major ammunition depot in Karachev area of Bryansk Oblast region of Russia on Tuesday after President Joe Biden gave Kyiv approval to use its long-range missiles inside Russia, an action which prompted President Vladimir Putin to hold emergency nuclear weapon meeting with his team and also sign into law the use of the nuclear weapon against country assisting non-nuclear nation against Moscow, a statement which apparently indicated that Russia may have planned to attack US. Reports from Ukraine indicated that Russia intensified airstrikes against Ukraine during the weekend. Videos posted online on Tuesday showed large explosions at a major ammunition depot, Grau Arsenal in Karachev in the Bryansk Oblast of Russia, located about 115 kilometers from Ukraine. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told journalists that new changes to Russia's nuclear weapons doctrine signed by President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday mean the use of Western non-nuclear rockets by the armed forces of Ukraine against Russia can prompt a nuclear response. According to reports, the ATACMS strikes by Ukraine affected the facility near Karachev, 70 miles from Ukraine's border, with secondary explosions reported. Footage showed a fiery explosion followed by plumes of smoke. Ukrainian military sources confirmed the success of the operation, marking a turning point in the conflict as US-made missiles are now part of Kyiv's arsenal. Russia claimed its air defenses intercepted 5 missiles, but debris from one caused a fire at a military site. In response, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a new law allowing nuclear retaliation for long-range missile attacks, lowering the threshold for deploying nuclear weapons. Putin also issued a direct warning to the US, accusing the Biden administration of recklessness after its recent approval for Ukraine to use ATACMS. Russian lawmakers condemned Washington's decision, with one senior official calling it a significant step toward World War III. This escalation comes on the 1000th day of the war, underscoring the growing global tensions. The Russian Defense Ministry said that it defeated a Ukrainian attack that used US-made missiles shortly before the Kremlin updated its nuclear weapons doctrine to allow for nuclear strikes in response to foreign ballistic missile attacks. The changes to Russia's nuclear doctrine were unveiled several weeks ago but only signed by Putin on Tuesday, as officials in Moscow expressed anger at the US decision to allow ATACMS use on Russian territory. The doctrine now says Russia can launch a nuclear attack against a country assisting a non-nuclear country in aggression against Russia. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Tuesday, the fact that ATACMS was used repeatedly in the Bryansk region tonight is, of course, a signal that they want escalation. And it is impossible to use these high-tech missiles without the Americans, as Putin has repeatedly said.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
On Saturday, Africa got new African queen in the person of Chidimma Adetshina, who earlier in the year faced concerns from South Africans who questioned her nationality as their citizen, an action which forced her to resign after making it to Miss South Africa beauty pageant finalist and got consolations from Nigerians who invited her home to contest as Miss Nigeria. Chidimma, who represented Nigeria at the Miss Universe contest held at Arena CDMX in Mexico City, became the first Nigerian to make it to top 5 in the beauty pageant history and amazingly finished as the second most beautiful girl in the world with a crown as African Queen and Oceanian Queen 2024. Chidimma Adetshina took to her verified Instagram page to say her winning has taught her there is power in unity. To Nigeria, thank you is not enough for all the support you've shown. You picked me up when I was at my lowest. I've never opened up so much, but I was ready to give up on my life, but you became my strength. On days I never wanted to fight, you gave me the strength to fight. I'm so grateful to each and everyone for working this journey with me. To Africa, thank you for showing your love and support as much as I represent Nigeria. Africa fought for me. My voice and my story touched many and brought us together. This journey has taught me the power of unity. I want us to live in a society where all can be accepted and celebrated by one another. This is not the end, but the beginning of my journey. Love you, Miss Universe. First runner-up, Chidimma stated. Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Nigeria in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa said Chidimma Adetshina's doggedness and resilience earned her the reward of first runner in the World Beauty Pageant. In a congratulatory statement issued by Abdulrahman Balogun, Director of Media, Public Relations and Protocols of the Commission, the NIDCOM boss was excited that despite all odds, Chidimma remained focused and attained her goals. Dabiri Erewa said though Chidimma Adetshina, as Nigeria's representative, finished as the first runner-up at the 73rd Miss Universe competition held in Mexico, her courage, determination and support from Nigeria eventually paid off. She was also named Miss Africa and Oceania 2024. Dabiri Erewa recalled Adetshina's controversial official withdrawal from the Miss South Africa 2024 contest, of which she had advanced to the final stage some few months back, noting that Nigeria warmly welcomed her after being literally forced out of South Africa. While in Nigeria, accompanied by President Silverbait Group, Mr. Guy Murray Bruce, Chidinma was warmly received at the NICOM Lagos office and thereafter hosted to a grand reception at Idris Olorunibe's The Temple, Victoria Island, with music legend D. Banj in attendance. Describing her as brilliant, focused and determined, she urged others to emulate the spirit of Nigerianness in Chidinma by being proud of the country and not run it down under whatever guise. The competition, described as one of the most thrilling in recent years, celebrated the talents, intelligence, and elegance of women from around the globe. Nigeria came second behind Miss Denmark, Victoria Kejadovig, who won the keenly contested crown from Miss Universe 2023, Shenis Palacios of Nicaragua. It will be recalled that Chidinma was rejected by South Africa, who expressed worries and questioned her nationality. Due to that, Adetshina came to Nigeria to represent Taraba State and won the title of Miss Universe Nigeria organized by the Silverbait Group. The NIDCOM news statement ends in quote. Shortly before the World Beauty Pageant, Sahara Reporters News Network reported that the Miss Universe Nigeria, Chidinma Adetshina, who has been embroiled in a nationality controversy, is to be stripped of her South African identity and travel documents. The Department of Home Affairs initiated an investigation into her case after she became a finalist in the Miss South Africa pageant, facing scrutiny over her eligibility due to her mother's Mozambican roots and her Nigerian father's nationality. In August, she withdrew from the competition after the department revealed that her mother might have committed identity theft to acquire South African citizenship. Adetshina, a law student, later won the title of Miss Universe Nigeria after being invited to participate by the organizers. The situation ignited a wave of xenophobic backlash in South Africa, prompting Adetshina to tell the BBC that she would need therapy to recover. The Department of Home Affairs announced the withdrawal of her ID papers to a parliamentary committee on Tuesday. Tommy Makode, the department's top civil servant, stated that Adetshina's mother would also have her documents cancelled, as the board failed to meet the deadline to justify their eligibility. Makode mentioned that the case has been referred to the Hawks, a special police unit that investigates serious crimes, which concluded that it was a case of fraud. Officials are now awaiting instructions from prosecutors on how to proceed. Following the department's revelations in August, it clarified that Adetshina could not have participated in the alleged unlawful actions of her mother as she was an infant at the time. Adetshina has stated she was born in Soweto, South Africa. After her victory in Nigeria, she affirmed to the BBC that she still identifies as proudly South African and proudly Nigerian. She has just arrived in Mexico to represent Nigeria at the Miss Universe competition on the 16th of November, where she will compete against contestants from around the globe, including Mia Liru, this year's Miss South Africa winner, Sahara Reporters stated. Miss Universe Nigeria, Chidinma Adetshina, was crowned the first runner-up in the Miss Universe 2024 pageant held in Mexico City on Saturday night, but the crown was won by Miss Denmark, Victoria Kejadovig. During the event, Chidinma was also named Miss Universe Africa and Miss Oceania. The 23-year-old's journey to the Miss Universe contest was a turbulent and painful one, according to BBC. Adetshina initially competed in this year's Miss South Africa but withdrew after facing a xenophobic backlash. Despite being a South African citizen, her eligibility was questioned because her father is Nigerian and her mother has Mozambican roots. The Home Affairs Department investigated her at the request of the Miss South Africa organizers and suggested that moves Adetshina's mother may have committed identity fraud to obtain South African nationality. Following this, Adetshina made what she described as a difficult decision. She left the competition for her family's safety and well-being. Afterwards, Miss Universe Nigeria extended an invitation to Adetshina, asking her to compete. Although she came second in the recent competition, Chidinma received a royal reception in Nigeria, with widespread praise for her participation in the beauty pageant, both on social media and in the country's mainstream media, BBC remarked in its report. We had earlier reported that Chidinma Vanessa Onwe Adetshina, born by a Nigerian father and a Mozambique mother who was a strong contender in the Miss South Africa beauty pageant, slated to be held then on Saturday at the Sunbelt Arena in Pretoria, has withdrawn from the competition after the country police, the Home Affairs Department, issued a statement that her mother allegedly committed identity theft in 2001 after a series of South Africa citizens took to social media platforms to question the true nationality of the beauty pageant contestant. The 23-year-old had emerged as a central figure of discussion on national identity issue after advancing to the top 30 and becoming a finalist in the Miss South Africa competition. She gave in on Thursday morning, weeks after South Africans called for her disqualification over issues related to her nationality and the business integrity of her Nigerian father. Home Affairs Department, in a voice-recorded news release, said that its investigations revealed that Chidinma's citizenship may have involved fraud and identity theft. Some residents in South Africa had called for her disqualification from the Miss South Africa pageant, alleging she was not a legitimate South African citizen. The Home Affairs Department said the pageant organizers formally requested the department to verify Adetshina's citizenship, accompanied by written consent from both Adetshina and her mother. Preliminary findings from the investigation suggest potential fraud and identity theft linked to the individual recorded as Adetshina's mother in Home Affairs records, according to the South Africa Home Affairs Police. However, the department noted that Adetshina, being a minor at the time of the alleged actions in 2001, was not involved in the fraudulent activities. Adding that, the investigation further uncovered that a South African woman, whose identity may have been stolen in the process, has suffered significant consequences, including the inability to register her own child. The department said it had broadened its investigation to identify and pursue any officials implicated in the scheme and is currently seeking legal advice on the ramifications for Adetshina's citizenship status, saying, criminal charges are anticipated upon the conclusion of the investigation. The Home Affairs said, and in quote, information we have uncovered thus far, the Department of Home Affairs can indicate that prima facie reasons exist to believe that fraud and identity theft may have been committed by the person recorded in Home Affairs records as Chidinma Adetshina's mother. The department, which commenced investigations on Tuesday, alleged that Ms. Adetshina's mother stole a South African woman's identity to register her birth 23 years ago. Chidinma, in a statement on Thursday morning, said, I would like to start by thanking everyone who has stood beside me right from the start of my Miss South Africa journey. I'm grateful for all the love and support I have been shown. Being part of the Miss South Africa 2024 competition has been an amazing journey. However, after much careful consideration, I have decided to withdraw myself from the competition for the safety and well-being of my family and me. With the support of the Miss South Africa organization, I live with a heart full of gratitude for this amazing experience. I would like to take this opportunity to wish my fellow finalists all the best for the remainder of the competition. Whoever wears the crown represents us all. Reno Omokri, former presidential spokesperson in Nigeria while reacting to her withdrawal, said, even if her mother committed offenses when Chidinma was born in South Africa, as alleged by some in South Africa's governmental agencies, South African authorities should have tackled the mother, not the daughter. Why did they suddenly remember this when Chidinma contested for the Miss South Africa crown? This looks like victimization. Nigerians spend $10 million daily on South African companies, like Mountain, DSTV, and other firms. How come none of them could speak up for Chidinma? Mountain has never spoken up for Nigeria, whether it is during the xenophobic attacks or the DSTV shutdown of Nigeria's penalties during AFCON 2023 when we played South Africa, and now this. What is their purpose in Nigeria other than to suck money from our economy and repatriate it to South Africa? Chidinma has never known any other home other than South Africa. What the South African authorities have done to her is to use state apostates to terrorize and traumatize her into submission. She can't help it if she is beautiful. Would the South African authorities like it if the United States singled out Trevor Noah for victimization in future if he decides to maybe contest an election there? I really hope the South African government has given enough thought to how this action could harm Pan-African relationships in this day and age of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. If we, as sub-Saharan Black Africans, would do this to each other, then what moral authority do we have to fight against racism? I hope the South African authorities revisit this incident and remove the pressure that made Chidinma withdraw from the pageant. Perhaps President Cyril Ramaphosa can intervene. Mr. Ramaphosa is much beloved in Nigeria. Maybe he can also show love to Chidinma.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Let Nigeria Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja is no doubt a very important figure whose names needed being mentioned in the ongoing guerrilla war in the southeastern states of the country when on April 24, 2021, as the General Officer commanding 82 Division of the Nigerian Army initiated plans and killed the suspected head of unknown gunmen, Ikonso, whom indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB identified as the commander of its armed affiliate, Eastern Security Network, ESN, an action which escalated the security tension in the geopolitical zone into ongoing current war between the Biafra secessionist armed group and the armed forces of Nigeria, with both sides recording hundreds of casualties including civilian deaths before Lagbaja was redeployed to Kaduna as GOC, 1 Division in August 2022 to war bandits and terrorists in the northwest states. Lagbaja resumed duty as GOC, 82 Division in Enugu on the 12th of March 2021. And few weeks after, on April 5, 2021, Ikonso allegedly led armed group to attack Imo State Prison and set free over 1,800 inmates without killing any security operative, an action IPOB described as a set-up or a trap by government to have reason to kill innocent people in Biafra land. According to reports, the unknown gunmen executed the prison break at Owerri Correctional Facility on April 5, 2021, for 3 hours without any resistance from the government's security operatives. Some weeks after, Ikonso was killed on April 24, 2021 by security operatives in a joint raid of the ESN in Awomama, Oru local government area of Imo State. They then coerced Lieutenant General Ibrahim Atahiru, who later died in plane crash, commanded the Nigerian soldiers, the police IRT and the SS operatives for killing the ESN commander, Ikonso Don, in Imo State. He praised them for making the operation a success. Soon, the Biafra secessionist armed group called its men to base, and a video posted online in 2021 showed thousands of the armed group bending their heads downward to receive a commanding instruction to start attacking security facilities and killing security operatives in the southeastern states. Owerri prison attacked under Lagbaja as the GOC 82 Division is strategically located near Imo State's government house, State Police Headquarters, and 34 Artillery Brigade, Obinze, with reports indicating there was little or no swift response mounted by security agencies, including nearby State Police Command, armed prison personnel, or government house security, despite the proximity of high-ranking military officers living 5 poles away from Owerri prison. Although the 5 governors of Southeast states paid tributes to Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu announced his death, but none of the 5 governors specifically mentioned the achievements of Lagbaja in their various states when the late course was the GOC 82 Division for more than 1 year in the region. Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, in his words of tribute to Lagbaja, said, "On behalf of the government and the good people of Imo State, I extend our deepest condolences to His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Chief of Defense Staff, the Nigerian Army, and the entire Nigerian military, over the untimely demise of our esteemed Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Abiodun Lagbaja." Lieutenant General Lagbaja was a pragmatic leader whose dedication and commitment to duty redefined the Nigerian Army's efficiency and professionalism. His leadership and strategies invigorated the institution, raising the bar in discipline and operational effectiveness. He was a man who came, saw, and conquered, leaving an indelible mark on the armed forces and the security landscape of Nigeria. This loss is a significant blow, not just to the military but to the entire nation. We join in prayers for his family, trusting that God Almighty will grant them the fortitude to endure this irreplaceable loss and comfort them in their grief. May his soul find eternal peace, and may his legacy continue to inspire all who serve this great nation. Governor Peter Ndubisi Mba of Enugu State, in his tribute, said, "I received with a deep sense of loss the sad news of the passing of the Chief of the Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja. This is a grave loss to not only the Nigerian Army and the entire nation, but also a personal loss to the government and good people of Enugu State, where he served as the General Officer commanding GOC 82 Division, Nigerian Army, from March 2021 to August 2022. He was a distinguished officer who saw it all and deservedly rose to the apex of his chosen career. From the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji, to the United Nations Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, MONUC, the various Army high commands he superintended, and ultimately as the Chief of the Army Staff, General Lagbaja distinguished himself as a consummate academic, gallant officer, quintessential leader, and patriot. It is also worthy of mention that as Chief of the Army Staff, he lent his total support to our administration's fight against insecurity, without which the tremendous successes we have recorded in that regard could not have been possible. On behalf of the government and good people of Enugu State, I convey our heartfelt condolences to the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, the Nigerian Army and Security Services, his immediate family, and the government and good people of Osun State, and pray God to grant his soul a peaceful repose. Governor Charles Soludo of Anambra State, while paying tribute to the late Chief of Army Staff in a news statement issued by his media spokesperson, Christian Aburime, stated in quote that the Governor of Anambra State, Professor Chukwuma Charles Soludo, CFR, has expressed profound sadness on the death of Lieutenant General Taoreed Abiodun Lagbaja, Chief of Army Staff of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, on Tuesday at the age of 56. In his condolence message, Governor Soludo extended his deepest condolences to His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, the Nigerian Army, and the bereaved family of the late General Lagbaja on this irreparable loss. The governor further described General Lagbaja's untimely departure at the age of 56 as a huge loss to the Nigerian Army and the nation in general. The governor reiterated that General Lagbaja's distinguished military career, marked by his exceptional service and dedication to our nation's security, serves as a tribute to his uncompromising commitment to Nigeria's unity and progress. As an alumnus of the prestigious U.S. Army War College, General Lagbaja brought unparalleled expertise to his role, serving with distinction in various capacities, including as platoon commander in the 93 Battalion and the 72 Special Forces Battalion. His leadership in critical internal security operations, From Operation Zaki in Benue State to Operations Lafiado, Udoka, and Forest Sanity, further demonstrated his tactical acumen and relentless dedication to Nigeria's peace and stability. Governor Soludo, therefore, prays that the Almighty God grant the late General's soul eternal rest and give his family the solace to bear this great loss. Governor Francis Uwaifuru of Ebonyi State lastly in his tribute to Lagbaja as contained in press release made available by the governor's chief press secretary, Monday Uzo, said, the governor of Ebonyi State, Francis Ogbonna Uwaifuru, has described the death of the former chief of army staff, Lieutenant General Toerid Lagbaja, as a colossal loss to the Nigerian army and the nation. He said the late army chief throughout his career demonstrated courage, resilience, and an unyielding commitment to safeguarding the nation. It is with a heavy heart and profound sorrow that I learnt of the passing of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant Toerid Lagbaja, who died at 56. It is sad that the nation mourns the loss of a true patriot and leader whose service and dedication to the armed forces and to the protection of our homeland remain immeasurable, especially in the wake of terrorism, banditry and armed conflict in some parts of the country. According to the governor, the vision and leadership of Lieutenant General Lagbaja strengthened the Nigerian military and inspired countless men and women to serve with honor and integrity. While consoling the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, over the death of the late Army Chief, Governor Uwaifuru says, the legacy of service which characterized the eventful tenure of the late Coas will endure in the hearts of those who knew him, and his sacrifice will not be forgotten. The governor, who also extended his condolences to the Lagbaja family, urged mourners to remember the late army helmsman not only as a dedicated leader, but as a compassionate officer who touched the lives of all who had the privilege to work with him. Meanwhile, the achievements of the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Toerid Lagbaja, in the northwestern states when he left Southeast to Kaduna as the Gok-1 Division of the Nigerian Army in August 2022 is captured by Samuel Arwan, a journalist and Kaduna State Commissioner of Internal Security and Home Affairs, in words of tribute titled, A Soldier on a Mission, Lieutenant General Lagbaja. Excerpts of the tribute reads below in full. In July 2022, the Nigerian Army under the leadership of Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya approved the postings and appointments of senior officers as part of efforts to reposition the Army for enhanced operational efficiency. In that regard, the then Major General Toerid Abiodun Lagbaja, at the time the General Officer commanding 82 Division, was redeployed to Kaduna as the new GOC of the Premier Division. The outgoing GOC, Major General Kabi Imam Mukhtar, was a very kind, supportive and hardworking senior officer with whom we had hitherto enjoyed a harmonious working relationship, making impressive strides in the campaign against banditry. General Mukhtar informed me of Lagbaja's impending arrival, while telling me of his own posting to the Nigerian Army Resource Center as a fellow. As we exchanged our best wishes, he sent me Lagbaja's phone number so that we could get acquainted ahead of the handover on the 8th of August, 2022. Upon his official resumption, I sent General Lagbaja a text. Greetings and welcome to Kaduna, General. Only moments after, Lagbaja called and said, well done my brother. General Mukhtar briefed me about you. We will see when I return from Enugu. We met on his return. I have encountered an array of prominent persons, and, call it a journalist's instinct, I have learned to sense an aura. On that first meeting, General Lagbaja radiated a quiet sincerity and steely resolve. He came across to me as a man on a mission. Also, perhaps on a superstitious note, I found it a bit satisfying that a member of the 39 regular corps was assuming office as the 39th Gok of 1 Division. At that first meeting, we had extensive discussions about the bandit attacks on Federal College of Forestry Mechanization, Greenfield University, Bethel Baptist School, Nigerian Defense Academy, the Kaduna-Abuja Road, Kaduna-Benin Gwari Road and the vicinity of the Kaduna International Airport. We also reviewed the security situation in Benin Gwari, Kidandan, Yadi, Gwagwada, Udawa, Dambakashaya, Buruku, Riyawa and Sabon Bini general areas and the southern Kaduna corridor. We surveyed the existing profiles of key bandit kingpins and the terrorists operating in the state at the time. We revisited the developments leading up to the attack on the Kaduna-bound train from Abuja, especially the warning signs and security advisories. As I wrapped up what would be the first of several meetings with Ebon, as I fondly called him, I was struck by his sincere desire to confront the situation directly. I briefed the then Governor Nasir El-Rufai on the new GOC's arrival and on the details of our meeting. We then planned his introductory visit to the governor, after which he commenced work in earnest. From his first day in Kaduna, General Lamaja portrayed clearly that he was not an officer given too much talk. He was for focused and committed action. He was a field officer to the core. His commitment to leading from the front was a great source of motivation to the officers and men of his command. His impact was immediate. In the days following his arrival, the momentum of military efforts against bandits and terrorists was intensified. Operations were sharper and more intelligence-driven on all sides. General Lamaja had one clear idea, and that was to put bandits and insurgents on the run, and not the other way around. He transmitted this energy right through to the fighting forces. Troops advanced to every flashpoint, and swept criminal enclaves with relentless ferocity. This push led to such a flurry of breakthroughs, bandits neutralized, victims rescued and recoveries made, that I could barely keep up with his quick succession of operational feedbacks. I recall the rescue of 6 women around the Kuriga-Manini general area, among several other such operations to free victims held hostage in putrid bandit camps. The rescue of 10 chained hostages after a fierce gun battle at Daban Kwalba was another such breakthrough. The terrorist enclave was totally destroyed and many bandits were neutralized. In early September 2022, we received intelligence of a notorious bandit and his companions moving to attack the Kaduna-Abuja road. It was Lamaja's characteristic lightning response which so many of those bandits dispatched. The said kingpin himself only escaped by a hair's breadth. Lamaja came to Kaduna with a sense of purpose. He keyed seamlessly into the government's dedication and desire to confront banditry, and this birthed a very productive synergy. The exploits I have recounted came merely days after he assumed command. As a matter of fact, a marked and measurable improvement in the security situation was soon observed across the state. The Kaduna-Abuja road was previously a nightmare for many travelers. With General Lamaja's dedication, it became secure and commuters could once again travel the route with a normal heart rate. He also boosted inter-agency collaboration a great deal. This was particularly important as we approached the 2023 elections with its own special brand of uncertainty. There were threats by bandits and terrorists aiming to cripple elections in some flashpoint locations like Benin Gwari, Giwa, Chikun, Igabi, Kachia, Kajuru, Zangon Kataf and other local government areas. There were equally assertions from the usual naysayers that the elections in Kaduna State would be marred with violence. With this in mind, we embarked on scenario building from our real-time intelligence collection. This formed the basis for massive covert operations in 2022, spilling into 2023. We devised clear plans for different areas. The military responded promptly, supporting the police from the rear to address challenges before and during the campaigns, during elections, and of course after. Multidimensional threats were quelled, and with Lamaja's exceptional operational capability, Kaduna remained peaceful. Bear in mind, he was also supervising Kano, Niger and Jigawa states. All the states under his area of responsibility, AOR, were calm, contrary to the dark predictions. In some of my engagements with General Lagbaja, we discussed government's intelligence gathering efforts on the threat of banditry and terrorism in Kaduna State, following the train attack in March of 2022. We had made several trips to foster collaboration with other states, and to build a better understanding of the links between bandits and other networks. He gratefully took in the findings which I shared with him. Indeed, after the train attack, the military high command had deployed the 402 Special Forces Brigade to Kaduna, under the leadership of Brigadier General E.U. Effiong, another diligent officer. He in turn led two commanding officers, Lieutenant Colonel Manga and Lieutenant Colonel Ali, now of blessed memory, in charge of the 198 and 134 Special Forces battalions. These were eventually boosted by the arrival of the 167 Special Forces Battalion from Giri, led by Major T.E. Ezenfred, and Defense Headquarters, Special Forces led by Major S.A. Oni of blessed memory. These formations were now part of General Lagbaja's machinery as GOC and Force Commander. Added to these were the ground and air component of Operation Well Punch, from the repurposed and revamped Operation Thunder Strike, as well as a smooth collaborative platform with other security agencies. This system was buoyed by the robust human intelligence network we had built over time. Lagbaja utilized these tools with aplomb. By the 12th of August 2022, only 4 days after his resumption, troops under his command had advanced to a terrorist enclave at Galbi General Area of Chikun Local Government Area. An initial surge of resistance was surmounted, and the troops crossed a river to overpower their adversary. 13 of the terrorists were taken out. A significant stash of arms and several motorcycles were recovered from the lair. Lagbaja's uncommon work ethic was in full flow. At about that time, I was scheduled to meet with him, precisely at 3 p.m. on the 14th of August 2022 to review some new intelligence. Somehow I could not reach him on the phone. I would later find out he had gleefully spent the night with the troops who had recorded the success at Galbi. It was in the afternoon of the 15th of August 2022 that I got his message. Good afternoon, Honorable Commissioner. I'm just leaving Galbi and arriving Gwagwada now. Please let's meet in my office by 11 o'clock hours tomorrow. This man had been in the bush destroying bandit camps with his troops. Shortly after I got his message, however, I received another piece of credible intelligence about some bandits moving to attack the Kasarami portion of the Kaduna-Abuja road. Aware that Lagbaja was in that vicinity, I quickly forwarded the details of the intel to him. Making a swift detour, he led his troops to the location, and it became a bumper harvest as the bandits walked right into their ambush and were wiped out. We quickly agreed that the breakthrough should not be publicized, in the belief that more bandits with similar designs might be likewise eliminated. Troops were strategically and discreetly positioned at notable crossing points on the route. By early April 2023, we were cruising and our work was prolific. Lagbaja had his ebullient and no-nonsense garrison commander, Brigadier General Chibueze Ogbuabu. Together we were consolidating the success and improved security during and after the elections. Then came the news that Lagbaja has been posted out to the Army headquarters as Chief of Operations. In a straight swap, the Chief of Operations, Major General Olufemi Akinjobi, would move to Kaduna to succeed him as GOC. We knew it was the nature of the job. Nevertheless, we were quite emotional to find that our brief but rewarding time was drawing to an end. General Lagbaja had won the hearts and minds of citizens in frontline areas with his reputation as an action man. More so, out of our ready partnership had grown a firm friendship. Even with this development, he never slowed down. In the days leading up to his exit from Kaduna, Lagbaja recorded more feats that I can recount here. A high-profile gunrunner was intercepted on the Polewaya axis of Kaduna-Benin-Gwari Road with more than 2,000 rounds of various grades of ammunition, along with 5 empty AK-47 magazines, concealed in different compartments of a Toyota Corolla. In another intelligence-driven operation, a notorious bandit and 2 of his foot soldiers were taken out around the Kaduna International Airport general area. In the 249 days General Osemwegie spent as GOC 1 Division and Force Commander of Operation World Punch, 147 armed criminals were taken out in the course of contact with security forces across the state. This includes several notorious bandits. When added to the scores neutralized by the air component, that statistic will nearly double. The operations coordinated by Osemwegie also resulted in the rescue of 210 kidnapped victims from various camps, enclaves and frontline locations. His troops made tremendous recoveries in that period as they decimated hideout after hideout, over 100 firearms, thousands of rounds of ammunition and scores of motorcycles. Essentially, General Osemwegie brought a unique energy to anti-banditry and anti-terrorism operations in Kaduna State. His style could be likened to a high press, taking the battle to the criminals and constantly setting them on the back foot. The heat of Osemwegie's high-intensity operations also pressurized several notable terrorists into surrender. After Osemwegie left Kaduna and resumed as Chief of Operations at the Army Headquarters, I paid him a visit on the 20th of April 2023. As usual, we had a good conversation and I thanked him for all that he had done for the security and peace of Kaduna State. We kept in touch until his appointment as the Chief of Army Staff on the 19th of June 2023, alongside the Chief of Defense Staff and other service chiefs. On assumption of what would be his final office, the delegation from Kaduna State led by Governor Ubasani was the first to visit the Defense Headquarters to felicitate with the CDS and the newly minted service chiefs. For us, it was a great day spent with the Army Chief as he espoused his command philosophy of transforming the Nigerian Army into a well-trained, equipped, and highly effective force to fulfill its constitutional responsibilities in a joint environment. Some months later, we went through a very trying experience with the unfortunate Tudunbiri aero bombing which occurred on the 3rd of December 2023. While managing the tragic situation, I was in touch with Osemwegie all through that night until his arrival at Tudunbiri. Later on we had a meeting at the lounge of the Kaduna International Airport. Amidst the collective tension of planning an effective response and evacuation of the wounded to hospital, General Osemwegie requested that I introduce him to the stakeholders we had assembled. He spoke with them and appreciated their interventions. It was a similar scenario when the Kuriga school kidnapping occurred in March 2024. Once again we worked frantically together until the abducted children were secured. The GOC 1 Division, Major General MLD Saraso handed over the pupils to Governor Ubasani. I recall our outing at the Nigerian Army Combat Arms Week. In my remarks on behalf of Governor Sani, I stated how proud and privileged I felt to have worked with 2 general officers commanding GOCs of 1 division who eventually became Chiefs of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya and of course Lieutenant General Tawhid Osemwegie. Much more than the effusive applause of those present, I came to value that moment as one in which I publicly gave him his flowers. Our last engagement before he took ill was in connection with the protests in August. General Osemwegie followed events in Kaduna studiously and also forwarded some key feedback before the 24-hour curfew imposed by Governor Sani, which gave security forces an edge. We did not get to meet at the Nigerian Defense Academy's passing out parade in September. Still, I kept contact with him, earnestly praying for his recovery. Sadly, it was not to be. God called the general to rest last week. Lieutenant General Tawhid Abiodun Osemwegie was indeed a man on a mission to lead. And truly, he led his beloved Nigerian army the one way he knew how, from the front. With his quiet sincerity, commitment and steely determination, he left his mark, I am grateful to point out very strongly on the security landscape of Kaduna State. It is said that the blood of battle is thicker than the water of the womb. My time with General T.A. Lagbaja in Kaduna, in the heated crucible of security management, brought us together in a brief but veritable brotherhood. In this grayness of grief, I am grateful for the friendship he so readily extended. I mourn the passing of not just an outstanding military leader, but of my Egbon. All too soon, his watch is over, but Nigeria will not forget this general. Neither will Kaduna State, and nor, for that matter, will I. Regrettably, I am unable to physically condole with his family, being sick and on admission myself at the time of writing. May Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja's soul rest in peace. May God reward his works and bless his legacy.
Osazuwa Connect, bringing you the news in a more digital way.